Hi, thank you for watching Deadly Effigy. I'm Luke Lagau. Today we're going to paint a goblin with cheap acrylic paint. Yes, here, black, apple barrel, great stuff, nutmeg brown, all-purpose brown, red, gotta have your red, yellow, that's an old bottle of paint, turquoise, just to cool things down a little bit, and yes, our secret weapon, pouring medium. This is used for, well, acrylic pours that were all the rage in the last year or so. You've probably seen them on Instagram and TikTok or what have you. Alright, so first tip. Black and yellow make an awesome green color. Again, we have another full bamboo cutting board that I purchased from the dollar store for $1.25 as our painting surface. I'm using this because, one, it was $1.25, and two, it's a food safe item, so should be free of any chemicals. It's also quite thick, so it shouldn't warp. This painting was, I don't know, it must have just been in the ether and I snatched it out or something because it just kind of came right to me. I knew I wanted to do a side view and I wanted some harsh lighting and I wanted the goblin to have some light coming in through its ear and it's snarling and whatnot, so I'm just kind of hitting the shadows, just deciding exactly how I want the composition, the darkest areas. So if you haven't ever used black and yellow as a green color, I highly recommend it. It also takes like pinks and blues very well. And yeah, apple barrel paints are incredibly cheap. I think it's like a couple bucks for the larger bottles of them. I just hit that with an air dryer, by the way. And now I'm going in and just sketching it out. I try to think a little more of shapes of color rather than lines. I know it looks like a lot of lines right now, but I'm kind of trying to think of planes and shapes of color. And in the last video, I know I said something that, upon rewatching, sounded a little unclear. I said I like to close my eyes and then imagine the painting and then start painting it. Didn't really make any sense. What I meant was I close my eyes, open my eyes, and look at the canvas and try to picture it on the canvas. So like I picture it in my head and then I picture it on the canvas. And then I try to just basically outline it. So yeah, this is already coming together. You can see what I'm shooting for here. Snarling, green, cave-dwelling goblin. And I'm going in with some browns first around that ear that I want light coming in through. That would be the nutmeg brown. But if I were to just go ahead and mix some red into the black and yellow green that I'd made, that would have gotten it pretty close to that color as well. Which is what I think I did up here. Yeah, I put a tiny bit of red in there. Another neat little trick to add a little bit more ambiance to the painting is I like to usually do a light background on the darker side of the face and a darker background on the lighter side of the face, which isn't always how lighting works, but if you think about it, like if you're facing towards your subject and they're being lit towards you, so you're looking more into the shadow, you will see a light in the background. So it does work in a lot of cases. And I just think it looks nicer. Also kind of suggests a smoky environment, like there's a haze in the air. So yeah, I went and added a bit more of a red into my yellow and black for the inside of the ear, and now I'm kind of going in and just deciding where I want to do some tonal variation. And yeah, the one area in this painting I had a tiny bit of trouble with was around that nose and the other side of the face that's more away from our view. I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to do a full-on side view or a 4/4 view, or whatever fraction it would be. Not quite a 4/4. But it's, I decided it'd probably be best to go ahead and add a bit more cheekbone showing on the opposite side there, and that turned out quite well. Oh yeah, the vein in the head here, that was a lot of fun. Adding just a little wisp of paint there to suggest the vein. Adding some veins to the temple area of your creature always makes them look more angry and skeletal at the same time for some reason. So yeah, a goblin to me is somewhere in between like a lizard, a bat, a human, maybe like with some sort of other beast's eyes, like maybe like some sort of large cat, like a jaguar or something. And fangs too. Yes, you gotta have the large mammal fangs. Almost tusks in some cases. But I also really like the idea of like goblins being like a big range of things too. Like if you ever saw the film Legend, the goblins in that, like some of them have pig noses, some of them are like witchy looking little things, and I like the idea of them just being like such a bastardized abomination that they could be almost anything. I come in here pretty soon with some more of a bluish green, that turquoise that I showed earlier. So yeah, going in trying to suggest a little bit of veins inside the ear that are showing through, putting a little more red on the gums and lips, and also I kind of like for a lot of my more evil looking characters to have very little distinction in between gums and teeth. Like here it's a little more obvious with color anyway, but I think it just makes them look so much meaner if their gums and their teeth are like almost one piece, you know what I mean? Like they're attached. Like, and trying to go in here with some darker glazes and decide if I want a little edge highlight on that side of the face or not. And that actually looks quite good like that. I don't think it needs an edge highlight. I think the edge highlight would flatten it. That's the problem with edge highlights, everybody. Be careful with your edge highlights. I know a lot of new artists really want to just get in there and edge highlights make everything look a little more professional. Yeah, to an extent. And they have their purpose, like on the ear there. But that's where the light is brightest, you know. That's where I want to really draw like your attention and say, well, maybe not draw your attention, but to suggest the idea that is where the light is the brightest. So be careful with edge highlights. They are great, but they also can really flatten your composition out. Unless that's what you're going for. That's cool. If that's what you're going for, lean into it. That's what I say. Putting a little wetness in the eye. And there's some more pinks around the eye and lip. Just rendering out those teeth a little bit better. See, and this is really the trick to get an acrylic painting to look a bit more like an oil, or just that style of oil painting. Some of my favorite oil painters are like Frank Frazetta. I mean, come on. Frank Frazetta, he just, his work just always looked flawless. Like not flawless, but like effortless, I guess would be the better term. John Singer Sargent is another one that had just awesome brush strokes and just effortless looking paintings. And the trick is those glazes. You have to use that matte medium, or that pouring medium, sorry. I used to use a lot of matte medium, but the problem with matte medium is it's like an opaque white when it's not dry. Oh yeah, here's my other little trick to make them a little more animalistic. Give him one of those reflective eyes like a wolf, or like a cat, or some other nocturnal creature. A little bit of drool on the fangs. And this one is pretty darn close to done, everybody. Oh, I got my tiny brush, my sharp brush. Watch out, it's sharp. Just for a little more glisten. And this is very, very thinned out. Well, actually, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. I did not use any white in this painting. My brightest color in this was that sunbeam yellow that I showed at the beginning. No white was used in this. So, let's sign it. And also, inspiration strikes at any time. And as I was signing this, I got an idea. I am not one of those artists who subscribe to the idea of once it's signed, it's done. No, it doesn't have to be. It just came out a little brighter than what I wanted. My signature did anyway. So I thought, I'm going to tone this down. And then I thought, well, it would be kind of cool if it was behind like a glob of like reddish, maybe even suggesting a little bit more gore hanging off those fangs, you know. So that's what I went ahead and did. Right here. Very thinned out, again, with that pouring medium. And really what this is trying to mimic is when oil painters thin out their oil paints with more of the medium that makes up an oil paint. It's linseed oil. They also can thin them out with turpentine, but that turpentine doesn't do the same thing. It breaks down the oil paint because it's a solvent, and then it turns it all chalky. So, turpentine's not the greatest choice really for thinning out your oil paints. But we're not talking about oil. We're talking about acrylic because it's quicker. Just putting a little bit lighter in there, and then using just some pure full-on pouring medium to thin it out and get it a little more blurred. Soften it up. And that's it, everybody. Hit that like button if you like what you saw. Leave a comment for something you would like to see. I just may pick it. I've already had some suggestions in person, but go ahead and leave a comment. And subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you, everybody. And keep making weird stuff.